Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. Today, we're going to break down Marvel Snap's Conquerors Winter Royale event. We're going to look at the top 4 decks of the game. I think we're the only people in the game looking at what all of these creators' best decks were, the very best from them. We also have a lot more from you, pro tips from the tournament, news on albums, a resolution to the controversy. Before we get started, though, I'd like to invite you to hit that sub button, like, comment, ring that bell. We work really hard on this channel. We're doing our best to grow. We're trying to get to 7,000 subs before the end of the year. Looks real likely at this point we're going to get there, but let's keep it going. Why settle? Help us grow, help us become the biggest and best channel we can be. We do our best to bring you at least 3 brand new decks every single weekday. Top-notch, meta-proven decks before anyone adjusts. All we ask in return is that you hit us with a sub and help us out. If you're willing, we'd appreciate it. Free for you, huge for us. In addition, we maintain, with the help of Banshee, hey Banshee, a giveaway sheet. This giveaway sheet, every couple days, is updated with every giveaway active in Marvel Snap currently. Basically, this is a free resource for the community. We don't get any benefit, so that you can find some great streamers and that you can get some free stuff. So please check it out. It's in the description to the video. Our format for today, we're going to look at questions of the day like we always do. Then we're going to look at Atrix's deck. Atrix finished in 4th place at this tournament. Then we're going to talk quickly about the resolution to the controversy about the Conquerors event. Johnson's deck is number 3. After Johnson's deck, we're going to do 2 pro tips I noticed from watching the tournament. And I watched the whole thing on Cam Best's channel. Shout out to Cam Best, start to finish. Then we're going to look at the number 2 deck from Amano. Amano Satoshi is a player I've never even heard of. This is a Japanese player who finished in 2nd place with a deck that honestly shocked me. Then we've got breaking album news. I asked and received an answer from Steven, the head of basically all things monetization for Marvel Snap, about albums. And I think it's interesting. I think that you guys are going to want to hear this. And finally, our number 1 deck is from the GOAT, Lambie. Then we'll look at my shop for the past 2 days. Cool? Let's get started. Hey, also, before we go further, I recorded test audio for this 2 or 3 times. I changed a bunch of settings. I worked on some stuff. Please let me know in the comments if my audio is better on this video. If it's not, I'm doing a full teardown to figure this out. But all the tests, I sent it to Yeti, I sent it to DougPie. They said it sounds good. I listened back. It's supposed to sound good. Let me know if I'm messing something up during the actual recording of this video, because everything else should be straight up good. If it's not, I swear to you, I'm going to get this fixed. I don't like it. Trust me, it's been driving me kind of nuts. We're going to get this fixed. Hopefully it is fixed now. Let me know. All right. Sosa no She wants to know if Quicksilver is good in blob decks. I think maybe. I know that's wild, but I think Quicksilver or Domino might actually be good in blob decks. So America Chavez was better than Quicksilver and Domino because she guaranteed your draws earlier in the game. She basically thinned your deck, saying that you would see key cards on turns where they mattered. Things like Zabu and Loki, which are far more powerful earlier in the game. America Chavez gave you precious extra percentage points at seeing those cards. Because Quicksilver and Domino take early draws, they made it less likely that you see those cards early in the game. Blob is one such card that you only want to see late in the game. It's only powerful later in the game. Blob's power late in the game is one of the reasons why America Chavez had to go before this card came out. Because if Blob was played on 5, it would always hit America Chavez, making at least a 6-13. But more than that, Blob was worse with America Chavez because Blob is a card you want to draw late, and America was forcing you to draw it early. Well, we have 2 other cards that force you to draw cards like Blob late that also keep other powerful things that make Blob better in the deck. Are they good? My gut says no, but the math might end up saying yes, that there's a real Blob deck that runs these exact cards in order to get that extra power. Worth testing, will get back to you. Day 1.5 of Blob, right? So worth testing, we'll get back to you. Obier, I'm not actually sure how to pronounce that. I've never said it out loud. Wonders if I'd be self-conscious if my son bought me an Ewok and not a Chewbacca. So, I don't know, a weekish ago, my son went to his school boutique and before I got my haircut, bought me this toy that you're seeing right now, and went, "Daddy, look, it's you. I bought you your Christmas present. I found a little toy of you." So I went and got a haircut. See, haircut, not giant Chewbacca anymore. Would I be self conscious of my son behind an Ewok? Nah, I'm self conscious about things I do, not like how I look. I want like when the audio cuts out on this video, like my stomach genuinely gets upset, right? Like I'm so frustrated that I can't get this one simple thing right. That kind of thing bugs me. My son thinks I look like an Ewok. Man, like, all right. I mean, as long as I don't look like Jar Jar, will be cool. Isaac Pimentel asks what my favorite deck is, regardless of meta, and it's definitely a version of Bounce. My favorite deck ever was the Thanos Bounce, the one that Lambie got famous for. He called it Valhalla. It ran Valkyrie and Beast and basically bounced a bunch of stones, making them free in order to like power the deck. Back when Beast was a 2/2. Since then, Bounce is just my favorite thing. I play an awful lot of Bounce. I've hit Infinite with everything from Loki Bounce to classic Iron Man Bounce. It's like the only meta thing I actually play like at anything like a high rate. Right now, I'm fairly obsessed with Move Bounce. I play it all the time. It does to Killmonger, but otherwise, it's great. Bounce is my favorite deck. If you have a question, please leave it in the comments to this video, and I will get to it within the next couple of days of videos. Cool. If you want to have it read out, do the thing. Our first deck, the number 4 deck, is Atrix's Loki. This is a sort of surprising version of Loki. It's more high cost than most of the modern versions of Loki. While most people have gone with more low cost cards to trigger Werewolf, Atrix instead went back to Coulson and Cosmo in the deck. Cosmo's really, really great in the meta. There's a lot of disruption, and being able to use Cosmo to turn those off is stellar. I also watched Atrix win a lot of games as Coulson gave him powerful cards. Coulson hitting Arrow was good multiple times. Mirage is in a reasonable number of these decks, but not all of them. Mirage is very, very good. With Quinjet, the card you get is generally one cheaper, and the +2 power really does matter. Often hitting a 5 power Jeff can be backbreaking for an opponent given locations. Most of the rest here is self-explanatory. But one important thing is in exchange for getting rid of the a bunch of the low-cost cards, the tech card instead of Shang-Chi here is Shadow King, which is a way to like answer cards like Collector or opponents Werewolf by Nights or Venoms or so on. This feels almost like you're waiting for a destroy meta because Cosmo and Shadow King are so powerful against those matchups in particular. Werewolf and Loki are must-haves if you're going to play this deck. You can try Agent 13 for Snowguard, but it is like way worse, especially with magic all over the meta. Snowguard is one of the ways you punish that deck, particularly the Snowbird, getting rid of Limbo. Mirage can be Sentinel, you lose almost nothing in that exchange. And Nico can be Iceman or Hood. Nico is either like backbreaking and game winning or utterly useless. The +2 draw is what you really want from Nico, although sometimes a demon or something like wins you the game. So, como si, como sa. I want to try the Hood here. My worry about the Hood is fundamentally that, oh, maybe it should be Hawkeye, not the Hood. But my worry about the Hood is that the Hood prices you into playing Falcon or Beast to try and get rid of it. Whereas I guess Hawkeye just seems actually kind of decent now that I think about it a little more. All right, Atrix is an Italian streamer. He's one of the biggest in the world for Marvel Snap. In fact, I would argue, just based on my own observation, the 2 biggest Marvel Snap streamers are Dara and Atrix. Like, they generally have views in the thousands really consistently. Well, I guess Cozy's up there. He just doesn't stream as much. All right, turn 1, Quinjet. Turn 2, Maria Hill. Turn 1, Quinjet over Maria Hill over Snowguard. You just want to get Quinjet out to get set up, even if it ends up not being great. There's certain matchups you care less about Quinjet in, but enough of them, Quinjet is backbreaking that you go for it. Like in the Sandman ramp deck, you don't super care about Quinjet, right? You care more about Maria Hill or Snowguard. Turn 2 is Collector, basically always if you have it. Turn 3 is Werewolf. Turn 4 is Loki. Olsen and his cards are your backup plan, along with your tech cards. Your Shadow King and your Cosmo are your backup plan. So you turn 5, you move your stuff around, try and get Werewolf in a lane that is not full by the end of turn 5. This way you can This way you can move another card there and still be able to threaten that lane. It's really annoying when you realize you can't play an on-reveal card or Werewolf will move and you die. So like that's a thing that's going to happen sometimes, but you want to avoid it. Keep an eye out for your Shadow King or Cosmo, and then you do the same thing on turn 7. We're not going to do variant talk today because we're covering a whole bunch of extra decks, but these are the variants I decided to stick in this deck. These are all, as always, variants I currently have in my collection. These are not my favorite Loki variants because before the end of the night, we're going to talk about Loki again. Although this may be my favorite Loki variant, like actual Loki. All right. There was a big conflict in the lead up to this tournament. Eggs raised this conflict that there's only one woman in the tournament. Then a lot of the worst people on the internet decided to attack her as a person and just be really vile in the community. If you're new here, we believe in kindness and helping above fundamentally everything else, and we don't have time for that. One of the best ways you can be kind to people and help people is, let's say you completely disagree with Egg's stance, you just scroll on, just disagree and move on. I personally do agree with Egg's stance. I personally believe that it is kind to include more people. It also, beyond being kind, further helps the game grow. In addition to Nina being the only woman, which limits the appeal to women, and you can think it does all you want. It doesn't all you want. It does. Women have spoken up about this time and again. There are no African Americans, and before you say it's a skill issue, there's not African American streamers. Educated Collins is one of the best players in the world in Marvel Snap and was not invited. And he's more active and bigger than several of the people who were invited. And there was no one from all of Latin America. You can find, probably as you're watching this, like 5 or 6 Spanish language or Portuguese language South American streamers. I am personally a huge fan of Avazord, who streams mostly in Portuguese, but releases stellar decks and is a top 10 player in the world and constantly has hundreds of viewers. Again, more than big enough, more than good enough, not invited. Certain parts of the world, certain demographics of people were ignored. And while I truly do not believe this is conscious, I truly believe that by being conscious of this, Marvel Snap will be a bigger and healthier game, and we will have more people in the community that we can interact with, that we can be kind with. So in resolution to Egg's concern, KM Best and Kawa stepped down. We actually don't know if that's why Kawa stepped down. He said he had personal reasons. KM Best explicitly said he was going to step down for this. Part of why I watched the entire stream in KM stream, the entire tournament in KM stream. Replacing Cam and Kawa were KK Sparkles and Felicity, 2 phenomenal streamers. KK Sparkles is getting really big right now. Meanwhile, Felicity runs multiple community tournaments consistently and is freaking just fundamentally beloved. So I'm really happy with this resolution. It worked out really well. And Felicity made the top 8. So, like, things worked out really well. Like, A+ for the resolution. Let's avoid the problem in the first place the next time, though, because once is whatever, but twice is a pattern. Cool. If you disagree with me on this, please do me a favor. Skip the comment on this. I'm not actually interested in your heated discussion about it. Fair warning. I think that it's just important for the community to know what the issues are that are going on and to know what my stance is about how to be kind and what kindness means. Our next deck is Johnson Cerebro 3. Streamer Johnson's a phenomenal player. Ravonna as a 3 power card is like a huge power spike for Cerebro 3. It means you can basically cut Bast. Luke Cage and Ravonna as 3s make this deck like really make a lot of sense, although Shadow King no longer gets the Cerebro buff because of his nerfed. Magic also never got the buff, or didn't get the buff since she was a 5 cost, so whatever for that. But everything else here is absolutely freaking stellar and super powerful. It's very, very easy to make all your cards cost 7. Have 7 power in this deck because Ravonna makes Cerebro and Mystique both cost 2. And that means that it's very, very easy to play them back to back. It's also very easy to double Iron Man, and anyone who's ever played a negative deck knows how powerful it can be to go Iron Man into Mystique. So if Iron Man costs 4 and Mystique costs 2, then you're just right there. That can't be lowered with Luke Cage. That can be further empowered by Valkyrie, and you have 3 extremely powerful tech cards in Shang-Chi, Killmonger, and Shadow King. Ravonna is super important here. I think Ravonna is what makes this a close to tier 1 deck. Without it, you're probably running Bast, but I think that's worse. Jeff can be either Cosmo or Sentinel. Sentinel has a lot of value here in that it repeats, and Cosmo's another tech card, and tech cards are good. So Johnson is one of the most creative deck builders in the game. He created one of recent Thanos Bounce that did really well in a tournament. He was one of the founders of the Professor X Destroy list. He constantly creates these original decks. He's one of the like 7-ish players that I constantly check the Twitter of because I know if they release a deck, it's going to be a video. I'll actually go over who those 7 players are, and then there's like 12 more that are like also people I consider for videos, but they're not like necessarily automatic or immediate. Like 4 of the automatic people have decks that they, like 4 of the automatic people have decks that they published in the past couple of days that I have to cover. That'll be Thursday and Friday, so get ready. I'm gonna split the must-have like deck builders with some blob stuff because my boy Doug Pie has a really cool blob Thanos. Turn 1, you pass with this deck because you don't have any 1-drops. Turn 2, Ravonna is like your key card. Then it's Invisible, Luke, and Jeff. Turn 3 is Magic, and then if not Magic, you sort of just work your way down the line. Turn 4, I like to get out Cerebro if possible, but you don't have to. You can just play like a Killmonger if there's some decent targets or whatever else. You just want to get out some decent power so that you can start building a board. Turn 5, Iron Man, or if you played Cerebro, Mystique in it too. Or if you've got Ravonna out, you can just drop Cerebro Mystique. Turn 6 is usually Mystique to copy Iron Man or Cerebro. Or you can just start to go wide. And turn 7 is Valkyrie and Shadow King, or Valkyrie and some kind of tech if you Shadow Kinged already. And that's how you win a game of Marvel Snap with this. It's really good against Loki. It's really good against Bounce. So it might be a really strong meta answer right now. So this is a beautiful deck, but again, not doing variants here. I really love the Hip Ravonna. I keep wanting to gold background it, but I really like the multiple colors of the background, so I think I'm leaving it be. All right, Marvel Snap Pro Tip 13 and 14. These are my own from watching the tournament. The first big one, and like this is clearly for competitive play, don't outthink yourself. If you think you know what they're doing and you can answer it, answer it. Don't be like, but they may also do. If you think they're going to play Eliath here, your gut says they're going to play Eliath here, you should go with it. If you know that if you do this, it counters this play that is very likely, just counter the obvious play. People aren't multi-level gaming most of the time. So Lambie won on a Gamora play. He played Gamora in the far right lane without priority. If Eliath was there, he lost. If Eliath was middle, he won. If the opponent played Doom, either middle or right, Gamora still won. That's 3 situations where Gamora wins, 1 where it loses. You can outthink yourself and play Gamora mid, which will beat an Eliath right, but lose to the other plays. Don't outthink yourself. Play it in the right place. Lambie does it. In the final game, Lambie wins. Meanwhile, Brade, who's a phenomenal player, won multiple tournaments. Has Eliath and priority. Opponent has Invisible Woman. No idea what's behind Invisible Woman, obviously. That's why it's Invisible Woman. He chooses instead to drop a Eliath left instead of just killing the Invisible Woman cards. The Invisible Woman card turns out to be Ms. Marvel, which beats him, putting him over Eliath. He played around so that he could beat a Doom, but not so that he could beat a Doom and Ms. Marvel. There's a card behind Invisible Woman. Why risk it? If Doom can't beat you, just kill the other card. In addition, Atrix saw a Doom, had a Cosmo. You know your opponent is playing Odin. Don't overthink it. Don't try and get cute. Don't wait too long. Don't get stuck into other plays that you have to make. Cosmo on that Doom would have won him the game. Odin would not have been able to be played on that Doom, and thus the entire game changes. Not making that play cost him the game. Make the obvious play. If you know what your opponent has, if you know you can counter what the opponent has, don't get too cute trying to steal too many extra cubes. Don't get too cute trying to counter their counter play. They're probably just going to play the thing you think 90% of the time. You will get more cubes. You will gain more cube equity by countering the obvious play. The other thing I want to note is that priority has never been more important. Neither has knowing your opponent's deck. Shadow King is probably about as strong as a tech card has ever been in this game. And if you're playing a deck that Shadow King ruins, particularly a deck that runs a Werewolf by Night, then you need to maintain priority so that their Shadow King is a 33% chance of hitting. However, if they're running Goliath, if you know the opponent is running Goliath, then you need to, then you also need to maintain priority. But let's say you're running Sebastian Shaw or Collector and you want to build them late game. You would like to then throw a priority and you have to risk that Goliath. Figuring out when and how to do that is a matter of knowing your decks and your matchups. Watching this channel will help with that. But ultimately, what you need to do is know the meta. You have to know whether your opponent wins based on priority. Goliath is a dead card, a useless card if you can steal priority. At that point, you know 90% of the time, unless Blob takes over the meta, the only other real option most decks have at the end of the game is Doom. And then the only question you have to answer is, what beats Doom? Gaining priority makes your life easier. Priority is hugely important. Start planning for it. Our number 2 deck is Amano Sandman. And whoa, there's like multiple choices here I didn't super see coming. Well, there's one big choice here I didn't super see coming. First off, Binks played the Galactus. This version clearly did better in that it was the second place deck. It's basically saying, I'm going to lock down a lane or I'm going to lock down the board. Sandman locks down the board, Professor X locks down a lane. If you can get a Professor X off, the power rate of Goliath or Doom goes way up. If you can get a Sandman off, Gamora is incredible. Goliath, Doom, and Odin are incredible. You have Electro and Wave to do so, and you have Daredevil to help you make right choices. It's also worth noting that with Electro, if you have to play Gamora on turn 6, you have 7 energy, so you can drop Gamora and Jeff, which is why Jeff is so hard to replace here. You can run Nightcrawler, but Jeff's ability to both go into Professor X lanes after they're closed, and Jeff's ability to be played after a Sandman as a second card are stellar. You also need Goliath. I don't think you can play this deck anymore without Goliath. I think it's the secret sauce. It's what your opponent has to play around so hard, and if you can't make your opponent play around it, then your deck is just significantly worse. Nebula can be something like Iceman as necessary, and I think Ms. Marvel should be in here. I would play Ms. Marvel over Sunspot. Ms. Marvel, fundamentally, if we look at the deck, gives us an out for we didn't see Electro or Wave on 3, because at that point you can go something like Daredevil into Jeff, into Ms. Marvel, into Professor X or Sandman, and you still have a lot of power on the board of the potential of winning. I don't know why it wasn't there, and Amano finished in second place, so like maybe I'm just dead wrong, but personally, I'm letting you know that I think Ms. Marvel should be there. So I'd never even heard of Amano, and I've heard of like almost everyone. I try and get to know every single person in the community. Amano is a Japanese player and tournament caster, and apparently very successful. He played absolutely stellar Snap all day and all night. So huge, huge, huge props to Amano. I'm now following all of Amano's socials, and I plan to, liberate some decks from the Japanese community where possible. Turn 1 is Nebula. Turn 2 is Daredevil. Turn 3 is Electro or Wave. If it's Electro, you go Sandman or X, then Doom or X, then Odin, Goliath, or Doom. If you go Wave, you want to go Doom over X usually. Then you want to go Sandman, Gamora, or X on 5 because you only have 5 energy. And then on 6, you go Odin, Goliath, or Doom. There's a decent chunk of time where you go Gamora last turn because you just need something big if you Professor X, and you realize if they can't go over you here where you're ahead, you win. But that's the play line. Cool. It's not complicated to play, but figuring out where to play these cards so that you can max power is the key here. Also, Fathor, I know you're watching. Play this deck. You'll thank me later. Although, add Ms. Marvel. Quick look, this is a very hipful deck. It brings me great joy to have, I want to say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hips in this deck. It's beautiful. I'm a big fan. All right. Our breaking news. So, Pulse Glazer, that's me. I asked on the Marvel Snap Discord, with so many hip variants in the game, will there be any more albums for hips? What else is planned? Are we still only adding 1 album a month? Why only do 12 cards for an album? Does it have to be 12? Can it be 7? Can it be 18? Whatever. Is this about monetizing cosmetics over cards, or is there some other reason for albums to be this strict with specific cards? These are the questions I'm getting in the comments all the time. These are the questions I'm getting in my Discord all the time. I decided to just flat out ask. Steven, the head of monetization for Snap, answers. We plan to add multiple albums for styles with lots of variants. For example, hip will have many albums. Music to my ear, I have 70 hips and I can't finish this one stupid album. 2 variants away, they have to show up in my shop. Staying hip will not be the only Dan Hip album. Reiterating, awesome. Hopefully one next month. Eventually, we will add the concept of parent albums for those styles with lots of variants. Also, very cool. So, like, if you have like 3 hip volumes and you have 10 in each, you're going to get different rewards. If players continue to show interest in this feature, and I hope they do. Albums are set up in 12s for now to make it similar to deck size due to technical constraints. We plan to create smaller albums for variant sets with less than 12 cards in the future. Awesome. So eventually we'll have 6, 8 card variant collector pass. That sounds great too. One other important thing, not answered. If players seem to continue to show interest in this feature, I've gotten good at reading second dinner language. I would bet that they're just that this is them saying, if you're interested in this, we're going to keep monetizing our cosmetics this way. My gut has long been, much of the community has long said, we prefer when they monetize cosmetics to cards. We want card acquisition to be as close to free as possible. And despite complaints, the $10 a month is what it fundamentally costs to maintain relatively close to collection complete, with an investment of time, obviously. So if they're going to monetize cosmetics, and this is predatory, or as close to predatory as monetization of cosmetics can be, fine. You don't have to have cosmetics. They don't make you better at the game. You're not going to win more games because you have that extra Dan Hip variant, unless you're mean. It brings you so much joy, you just play better, right? Like, so I think that this is they got to make money, right? I think this is a reasonably fair way to do so. And, more hip albums made me happy. Cool. Next up, we have Lambi Loki. We've seen this deck before. We've covered this deck before on this channel. One card different. It was running America Chavez before. Now it is running Quinjet because America Chavez got nerfed out of existence. Just a brand new card. It's not bad now. But this deck is fairly simple. You have a bounce package to make Collector big and make your hand full for Loki. You have Shang-Chi, who maybe wants to be Shadow King, not sure. Shang-Chi to help things that you can't go over the top of, and now you can top deck Shang-Chi at the end of the game after Loki, more likely. And you've got Werewolf as your big threat. So Shang and Rogue are your tech cards. Werewolf and Collector are your lane winners, and then Loki is your backbreaker. Cool. Werewolf and Loki are obviously must-haves. You can try Agent 13 for Snowguard, but once again, it's way worse. Yes, I did copy the slide. Agent 13 also for Nico, or you can try Iceman or the Hood. We talked about this. Mirage or Sentinel could also work. Sorry, it's the second Loki deck. I don't know what you want me to say. Lambi is the best. He's going to be on the podcast again at the end of the month. We are recording on like the 28th or whatever, right after Christmas. We're doing 2, what we're calling holiday spectacular episodes. We might do a special 3rd or 4th holiday episode. You know what? Let's just spoil some shit right now. Ready? Anyone who watched this long, you just deserve this. So on Snap Judgments podcast, this week we have a regular episode. We're really excited for it, but it's a regular episode with Obi and Obi Haved and Doc Octillery. It's going to be a really cool episode. Then we have our first holiday spectacular episode with the homies. We got Pershawn and Lil Robitussin, who are people, if you've never checked them out on Twitch, I hang out on their streams all the time. I go live with them. It's super fun. We're just going to have a hangout episode with them. Then a week later, we are doing an episode with Lambi and Peaceful are coming back on to do like a giant year-end meta thing where we talk about all the lessons we've learned, how Snap has changed, and all that good stuff. In addition, if we can find time, and this might be how we launch our Patreon. It's undecided yet. Patreon might be coming. But Roy and I are going to do a long podcast review of every single card released in Marvel Snap this year. We also, if they announce anything about series drops or whatever their new system will be for things such as series drops, we've got an emergency episode scheduled for Lauren Whatever and GC James. Cool? So we've got all that coming for you. Make sure you sub to the Marvel Snaps on YouTube for that. Let's get back to what we're talking about. But I'm hyped to have Lambi back on. A bunch of good stuff is coming. So turn 1, same basic plans before. Quinjet, Maria, Snowguard. Turn 2, Collector. Turn 3, Werewolf. Turn 4, Loki. Turn 5, their stuff, plus move Werewolf. And keep an eye out for your Shang or Rogue. If you have a good Shang target, don't be afraid. There's a lot of Sentry in the meta. If you can kill that Sentry, it's real nice. It's also relatively simple to fill that far right lane so that the -10 can't get you. It's oh, and you can fill that so the -10 can't get you with like a werewolf, so you can move it if you need to. Or I guess this doesn't run Jeff anymore. It's sad. Maybe this wants Jeff back. Whatever. I need to test that matchup more, but maybe it wants Jeff back. And then turn 6 is the same concept as turn 5. I'd also like to show you my sweet new variants. I bought the Forge. You can see it right here. And in my season pass, I opened the Jim Lee Rogue. I did not buy this. It's gorgeous. I'm very happy to have it. So I got 2 really cool new variants for my Loki deck. This deck is pretty. This is the one that has all the variants I like. It's a little hip light, but other than that, it's great because Collector, Falcon, Beast is the only 3. Are the only 3? Are the only 3. All right, shop time. We've got, I bought the Forge. I also bought the Moon Knight from the takeover for Hellfire Gala. Those are my 2 favorites. If you watched last week's Snap Judgments, we talked about them. I said those are my 2 favorites, so I bought them. I really like this Forge. I did not like the other Forges I had very much. They were too bland. This one has a pop of color. I like yellow. It looks great with the gold border. I'm a very happy creator. Also, this Moon Knight is stupidly simple and gorgeous, and I just love it so much. I decided against the Captain America because I have the Samney Captain America with like the grainy background. I decided against Bishop because there's a hip that I want. I have the hip Gambit, so I don't need that. I'm going to get the hip Panther, so I don't need that. And I have 2 Scarlet Witches I like better than the Hellfire Gala, but I don't like the hip Scarlet Witch. Magic is the other card I really strongly considered, but I have 3 magics. I have Phoenix Force, cool Flaming Sword magic. I have this one sitting with weird stuff floating around her that I like, and I have the Midnight Suns one. So I am perfectly happy with my magic variants. So good enough to keep on keeping on. Then today's shop, I had the last 4 Hellfire variants. I did not buy any. I like that Doom, but there's a Doom in a bundle next month that I like more. I have Emperor and Baby Doom, but we're good. I have the Peach Moko She-Hulk, so I don't need that. Midnight Suns Jean Grey, so I don't need that. I just opened a Rogue, thankfully, so otherwise that one might have tempted me. I have Hip Null, and I have a Spotlight Null. I bought the Jubilee, because it's a hip I didn't have, and I got sick of not having it. Every time I play the other Jubilee, I'm a little bit sadder. I have plenty of Deadpools. I don't need silly Jester Deadpool. And finally, we have this cool Miles Morales, but I already have 3, and I really like all 3. I actually play the top left one, but they're all great. If you made it this far, if you enjoyed this video, hopefully you like, sub, ring that notification bell, and I'll see you tomorrow. I've got such cool decks for you. I felt like we had to talk about Conquerors. By the way, on Marvel Snap Zone, I wrote up a full review of the whole event, so you should check that out too. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. Peace, everybody.